And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Big Gold Belt Presents P Valley. This is our review, recap, discussion, anything you want to do, talk about with P Valley, episode 3, which this one is called Amaya. I forgot to name that fast. What is the name of
Already?
this
Come
episode?
on, sir. Get it together. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't have it ready. The dirty dozen.
The Dirty Dozen is the name of this episode. So, since I've already thrown to you already, Amaya, how are you doing this evening? How was Patrice Woodbine's church that you look like you're just coming from?
Hey yo, hey yo. When I see Lou on Friday, it's on and popping. All right, it's on and popping. You know, if I went to church looking like this, we got problems. But you
Oh,
know,
that you giving Kalogic chic with that dress on. Come
I'm
on
done.
now.
Get out of here. Goodbye. Hello, Jamal. How are you doing?
I'm blessed and highly favored.
Wow.
I'm done with you. I'm done with
See,
you already.
I'm
you see
trying to
how you
keep it
came in and
together.
said that?
I'm trying to keep it together. Y'all are killing me. I'm
Okay.
just tired. It's been a long
Hey.
day.
Again, and that's why we just gonna jump directly into this episode. Again, episode 3. This one is called Dirty Dozen. And my first note is Miss Roulette goes crazy in the pink. So I'm gonna throw it to Jamal first. What did you think about the beginning of this episode and Miss Roulette breaking one of Uncle Clifford's biggest rules in the
Hmm.
pink?
She give me everything I thought when I first saw her. Like I hate to judge a book by its cover, but I knew she was gonna be that one hood booger get with that was gonna do anything for $1. And it's distasteful. It's just like I understand everybody got their hustle, but come on, girl, have some class for that ass at least, just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Just a smidge.
Oh,
I
she
ain't
did
got
get
nothing else for her.
she got a good amount of bankroll to
Ain't
it's
no
it's
ain't no
it's
bankroll worth your dignity though.
I say it's ladies out here sucking PPs for $40. I
Not
mean,
PPs and $40.
she
I feel that. Get this
$40.
man right now.
What
PPs.
what did you think of Maya about this latest introduction to Miss Roulette and just how far she's willing to go for the dollar?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Jamal. So, the attitude kind of gave some hints at the type of person that she was gonna
Hmm.
play. I was hoping that it wouldn't go in that direction, but
Hmm.
you gotta have one throwaway. You feel me? Like something that people are gonna be like, yeah, I know this is finna go down. That was that case right there. So I mean, surprise, not really. Kind of, sort of, but not really, right? Because I would hope that a lot of people that if you work at the pink, you're gonna respect Uncle Clifford's rules. You know what I mean? Because you ain't trying to get thrown out, especially if this is your only income for money.
Hmm.
However, I guess COVID it hit harder,
Hmm.
and some things needed to be paid, and it was a quick couple stacks. So yeah,
It's gonna hit real hard if it hits your throat.
uh, I don't know nothing about that.
Well. That's what you pay for in the pink and Chuckalisa.
Lisa.
But speaking of people making deals because of COVID that they never thought they would make, the next big moment is Mercedes
Hmm.
calling Coach and making a deal that she has been fighting. And I think they said in season 1 for years,
Hmm.
not taking Coach up on
Hmm.
his offer to be a kept woman. What did you think about where Mercedes is at this point? I know we're going to talk about later on in the episode what happens with her, but at this point, what do you think about where Mercedes is, and is it an extremely low point for someone with as much pride as she has? And I'm going to go with you first, Amaya.
I don't know if it's a low point, right? Because it's one of those things where you don't want to judge because you never know what
Hmm.
transpires to put people in situations where they decide to make these choices, right? The choices are not bad or good, they're just choices. They have a different set of consequences, but they're not
Hmm.
bad nor good. So for me, it's like she's she's decided like this. She got to do what she got to do right now. Pink was her only source of income. Obviously, Chuck Alicia is still shut down due to the pandemic, right? So money is not coming in. Coach is dropping 10K per month with the condo and the car included. Like, Let me call my coach up real quick and see if he got it. You feel me? 'Cause,
Where
like,
assistant coach at?
you know what I mean? But I mean, for real though, like I feel like she just made a choice that was going to sustain her until she got back to where she needed to be. But I feel like she's comfortable, you know, like even in the conversation that she has with the wife, she was like, I ain't never been no hoe. Like I ain't, you know, and then she tells her, well, you are sleeping with my husband for a certain amount of money, right? And she's like, yeah, but you know, even in that dynamic, Mercedes is still a very respectable woman, right? Like if we just compare the two, right? Because essentially they're both doing the same thing, Roulette and Mercedes, right?
I was about to bring that up.
However, Mercedes is saying, I have dignity, I have pride. If I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna at least do it the right way that I consider the right way to me, and I'm gonna do it in a space where I still feel respectful of myself. You know what I mean? So I don't feel like it's a low point for her. I just feel like it's a point of like, this is what needs to be done temporarily. And I don't think that she's going to stay there very long. But again, we can only, you know, speculate based on this is only episode 3.
Now, I'm going to throw this right back at you real quick. Now, I only said it's a low point for Mercedes because what she said in season 1 about never taking Coach up on this offer. So once you speak so proudly about, I'm never going to do that, because I think Mercedes still perceives it as a bad thing that she's going to do it.
Right.
Wouldn't that actually be a low point for her? Not in general, but just for her.
I mean, it might be, but I also think that she might be in a different headspace, if that makes sense. I know it seems weird, right? Because this is she's struggling right now, right? Obviously, she's not at the pink. The gym is basically just she's sucking money. It's money. She's being sucked dry, money wise, right?
Okay, all right.
Shut up.
She's sucking money for sure.
She's losing money, right? And so, yes, it's probably a low point for her, but she's in a different state of mind based on how she went about it, because she could have done it the backhanded way, if that makes sense. So yes, but like no at the same time.
Okay, what are your thoughts, Jamal, about this whole situation? Because we'll get into the wife and everything later, but at this point in time, this whole situation with Mercedes taking up this deal,
it's a means of survival, you know, by any means necessary. She knows that she's not pulling in that money like she was at the pink. Even with being a partner, you know, she's not coming up off of it like she used to. And she has to survive. The gym has become a money pit because none of the girls are able to, you know, come and practice and participate. And that's what she would really be, you know, getting her revenue from if the gym was open. Right. So it's like she got to do what she got to do to survive. And she's looking at the big picture like, I did this for the sake of being able to do this, and this to help you all out. You know what I'm saying? She's trying to help the girls that she's coaching. So in a sense, it's like, even though the two are parallel, her and Roulette, there's still some form of dignity that Mercedes has higher than Roulette, off of the strength of her. I need your wife's approval before you tell me she's okay with it. But until I know she's okay with it, I ain't doing shit. So it's somewhat of a dignity fact about that, because it's like, at least I'm not one of his other hoes that think I don't know, but I know, coming from the wife's standpoint. But it's everything she's doing right now is just simply off of survival. So I don't knock her for it, but it's just like, she got a little bit more class. At least she coming with a look that looks a little better. You know, if you're going to give it, if you're going to sell it, make it look like a good present before you sell it.
It could be just a presentation of their two situations that make both of you all draw that conclusion. Just on the outside looking in,
I agree.
I see it as equal. I saw it as the exact same thing, no difference. Because at this point, both of them are doing it for survival. It's not like it's money just running around Chuckalisa for everybody to get.
Right.
And one person paid a lot of money for a service. The other person paid a lot of money for a service. Both of them will get their service because they paid for their service. That's all I'm going to say there.
Can I say?
Go ahead, Jamal. You can say something.
At least one was an investment over time. Like, Coach has been coming to Mercedes for years.
So it's
and been
roulette, boo.
given those presents over years. He had to work for it and put down that down payment.
That's right.
She just took it for the sticker value and don't even know if it's a limit or not.
Don't worry about it. You just called her a classy hoe. I understand though. I
Very much
understand.
so.
Yeah, that's what
It's a
it's.
difference between, for some people, it's a difference between what they
The bottom
perceive a
bitch.
prostitute to be versus a call girl. When they actually do the exact same thing, it's just that it
It's
looks a
presented
different
differently.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Touche.
all that is. But
Touche.
speaking of the way things are presented, our next big moment is that we finally get to see Terica again. And here we get to hints that something's not going right at home as she goes by her grandmother's church to get bags of food. And her grandmother can clearly tell there's problems at home. Even though we know later on what's happening, what did you all think at this moment what was going on with her? And I'm start with Jamal.
Honestly, I thought two things. I thought either she was trying to help the girls that she was dancing with, and she
Mm,
was longing to get some type of connection to her mother. Because in last season, she didn't want any. It was almost like she didn't want anything to do with Mercedes. You
mm-hmm,
know, she didn't even want it to be like that's my mom. But now she's longing for her mother. So
mm,
that sense of urgency, because she would come around Patrice of all people, is like something's up, but we don't know exactly what it is. So I
mm-hmm.
wasn't really sure what to expect, but I knew there was a longing for a connection to Mercedes rather than what she had going on at home.
Mm. What
Yeah.
about you, Amaya?
I would agree with that. I feel like um she was in between, like, she was being a kid. She's a kid who has to be an adult, right? So she's in this
Yes.
position where, we've kind of been in those similar situations as children of color, right? You experience the whole having to grow up faster than you need to situation. So I thought one thing that stood out to me that was very interesting was when she goes, well, which one? When grandmother asked her, where's your mother?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
even in that moment you can see the pain in her face, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
having to figure out, like whatever, the one that raised me, okay, so she's at home, on the couch sleep. And so I think that it's just, we're gonna see more of this dynamic, but for this moment I feel like with her, she's just trying to find herself, trying to find a space to fit in.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Essentially, she's there because she's hungry, obviously. You know what I mean? And there's nothing at home, whichever home she's with, which obviously is, I don't remember her name, but
Shell.
Shell.
she, yeah, okay. So the
Mm-hmm.
other mom, that's so I don't know. I feel like she's a kid in a hard place. You know what I mean? She's just trying to make the best of it. You're driving, and you obviously are not that. And I thought that was interesting that her grandmother didn't point that out.
Mm-hmm.
So very, very interesting. But I do think she's in a space of, she's surviving, right? It seemed like this whole episode in a way was kind of just about survival. And she's part of that situation. She's just trying to survive right now.
That's a good way to put it. Is that she's trying to survive right now? Because again, I love the way so far they've been presenting COVID issues to us, and this is
Mm-hmm.
clearly. If you didn't see anything else, you kind of knew this was a COVID related issue that would
Mm-hmm.
cause her to be doing this all of a sudden. But next up, and here we're gonna jump ahead a little bit because I want to talk about everything with her this episode because this is the first time we got an in-depth look at her. Miss Patrice, God is on my side. I'm that bitch Woodbine in this episode.
Facts.
This just give me your
Hard
perception of everything
facts.
from the first introduction to her that we get to this episode with her and Terica to her at the pastor's chicken dinner to her at the end of the episode with the mayor saying one of the best lines I've heard on
Mm-hmm.
television this season. What whole perspective of her this episode? What did you think about this introduction of Patrice this season?
That woman is a hot ass mess. Okay, I
The
mean from
hottest.
beginning to end, a hot ass. What I say when we did for season one, right? I said I didn't like her. I told you that her ass was gonna be exactly who she is. She a snake.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
She a snake in the church. Okay, I'm not surprised and I'm not disappointed because she playing the hell out of this role and I hate her every
Hey.
second that she come on the screen. I said, okay, God finna strike you down. But um we see this character build and they're building her for you to love her and hate her at the same time. And it's she's dynamic, right? Because you see her compassion and her nurturing, even though she kind of digged into Terrica in the beginning, right? But then she goes, bring 4 boxes, because really Terrica only asked for 2. So her compassion and her kindness came out when she gave the 2 additional boxes, right? Then you see her being ratchet, okay, and loud at the chicken dinner, okay, talking about some you guys over here giving these white folk your money, you trust them too much. And she's speaking some real shit, but she's just doing it in a very like loud, boisterous way. But it's still real. And then of course her sassy and crudeness, like who made this goddamn chicken? Because the shit is dry, okay. And then you fast forward and you take her to the church, right? And she in there counting money like a goddamn drug dealer. Lord
Vaping.
have mercy, I can.
She's a tri queen.
Get me out of here. I ain't got it, okay? But she's Woodbine and took over the whole goddamn episode just that quick because you ain't gonna forget none of them scenes that she in. I was like, you see such a dynamic view of her in these 3 spaces that it just drove me like crazy because like I said, I hate her and I love her at the same time.
Jamal, what did you think about Patrice?
Yo, it makes me laugh because I grew up in the church and I know this woman. She is on the missionary board. She's a part of the nurses guild, the usher board, the church secretary. She know all the business. So she knows she can say whatever and ain't nobody going to say jack to correct her because she's that chick. But she's also that one that's going to come help you when she sees you in need. She's a very clever woman. I would say she's anything but dumb because we see that even though her ways at the pastor's dinner, chicken dinner, which I've never heard a country thing in my life. Jesus.
Chicken right now. But go ahead.
Right. But even though her efforts, her delivery might have sounded petty, she, as you said, she was talking that truth. Like, and it's the thing, like, why y'all so quick to put y'all blind faith in these white people? They not looking out for us. Y'all really think they gonna give us a job? And the first thing she said is, they gonna tell us we can't count.
That part.
And everything she's trying to educate them, like they're selling you a dream that you're never going to wake up and live, pretty much. You know what I'm saying? And then that daggone trap queen money count when the sheriff busts in the doors. I can't say that I'm surprised though, because it's like striking while the iron's hot. It's like you hit me, now I gotta hit you back. I got my lick back. And that's exactly what the mayor did.
Right.
And I knew it was only going to be a moment. I knew it was going to be a moment in which they was going to cross paths. But when she said that last bit, I was like, all right, I'm here.
Listen,
what's up?
All I know is that if I make the wrong turn going down the hallway in my church and I see them counting money like this, I'm gonna go ahead and just know that the Lord is working, all right? Because you got to be making lots. You needing, machines. I thought you was just in there counting them. You feel me? Okay, all right, that's what's up. Can I borrow a 20 or nah? Like,
now, let me get a Tubman.
A Tubman.
I'm still waiting on the Tubmans.
Now, quick question for both of you two: do you believe the path that we see her going down in this episode will lead you to think differently about her from season 2, as that tends to be the trend so far? This season has been, it looks like some of these characters you're going to see in a different light. Do you think we're going to end up seeing her not as the money-hungry person from season 1, but possibly as the caring soul that happens to look out more for her community now that she's in this position? Because it's clear, and I don't know if you all noticed it, but we're definitely gonna talk about it later. It's clear they set her up with this confrontation with her and the mayor for something that was set up in the scene beforehand with Andre. So do you believe we're going to see her in a different light this season? Whoever wants to go first, go ahead, take it.
I think there's a possibility of her and the mayor getting into cahoots together. Like, let's work together and not against each other. You know, I think that might be something, like some type of deal. Do I see her being like a money hungry whore? I can't say that right now. Because the first thing that comes to mind is that famous saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. All of her efforts might look like she's coming out to do something great for the community, but will we ever see it? I mean, I don't know how long time has passed since the first episode to this one, but all that money she's made off of these CDs she's been selling, and with the prayer resides and all of that stuff she's been gimmicking, why are they still only getting one box? And why is it only why is it only boxed food or canned goods and non-perishables? You know what I'm saying? Like, why hasn't that come up a little bit with what she's been getting? So if you show me, I believe it. Right now, I can't guess what it's to be of her, because she has shown her hand too many times and she swindled us in season 1 when her Mercedes was getting close again, and then she did her dirty. So I don't know what to make of Sister Woodbine.
Sister,
what about you?
Woodbine is snake. Okay, if you look up the dictionary and you look at the word snake, she's gonna be right there at the picture. I don't think she's gonna change. If she did decide to do a deal for with the interim mayor, she doing that because she got some ulterior motives. Okay, and I think I would rather, in honest speaking, I would rather her just say who she is. For real. I would rather her just be authentically this person and just stick to her guns, because not because people don't change, but because you need to see that these type of people really do exist. So it's not far-fetched, right? So it literally doesn't need to change, but I don't see her being better, not in the next few episodes. Maybe if we get to the last episode of the season, perhaps. But as of right now, nah, she gonna be the Dizzle past the Woodbine for the 99-2000. That's what she doing right now.
She coming from the hip.
Yes.
Let me put it like this. When I say different, I don't necessarily mean her attitude or anything of that nature is going to change. Just people's perception. And I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Then we're going to go back because you all touch on something and we touch on something on this topic, and I want to jump to this next scene that pays dividends to this, and that is when Corbin and Andre are having a conversation, and Corbin says, you couldn't run for mayor. You don't have a backing of a church. Who do you think church will back him now? Patrice.
Really?
It is obvious every day, because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Because at that point, it serves a purpose. This mayor and her will never get along with each other. Yeah. That mayor and her will never get along. In any way, shape, form, or fashion will they get along. So she needs to get him out of there. The only way to get him out of there is with Andre. That's the church that he needs to actually draw on the point that he's still Tydell's godson coming home. And with Corbin backing him, all Corbin needed was a church to back him. And we already see the other big church in Chucalissa is clearly backing the incoming mayor.
Right.
They're not going to back anyone else.
That must be Coon Baptist of Chucalissa.
Wow. Not Coon Baptist of Tabernacle.
I said what I said.
Of the rising sun. Wait a minute.
I said what I said. Because mayor, we finna, I'm going to talk to my pulpit, and they're going to, Coon Baptist.
Sweating in that hot ass black ass suit in the sun.
So just off of me saying that, what do you think that's a possibility? And if it is, and you see her again attempt to help Andre get into there, which in the end is better for the residents of Chucalissa for actually Andre to get in there, do you think the perception of her then could change some? I'm not saying completely, and I'm not saying she's going to be a different person, but could it change?
Change with who, though, is what we need. Because you got to think
the
about
audience. No, just the
Oh,
audience.
okay,
Our
okay, okay,
percep
okay, okay,
the not
okay.
the people, not the people on the show, but our perception of her. Because
Mm,
I think we see that a lot where things happen and then our perception of someone changes, but the actual character didn't change at all. It's just that we're seeing them in a different light all of a sudden.
I think it might be I think it might be like a tennis match situation. Like there's
Okay.
always going to be something that you're going to root for her for, but then it's going to be something that you're going to look sideways. Like a leopard can't change its spots; it just cannot do it. So I think people are going to feel how they feel regardless. You have people that love her as ratchet as she is right now,
right.
and some people that hate her, me and Amaya, because of her scandalous ways. So I think if anything, some people like me and Amaya might be like, okay, well, she still got a messed up personality. She still has messed up
Hmm.
way. I mean, a messed up, her mental,
Mindset.
but
Yeah.
she has an intention of doing. Well, I won't even say she has intention. She has a strong will to believe she's intending to do the right thing, even
There you
though
go.
all of her efforts have only shown that she's out for herself.
Right. That's
Mm.
my biggest thing is that if I can see that she doesn't look selfish in the episodes to come, then possibly. But as of right now, I just don't see it because everything she's done so far is just kind of proven us right.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Had she not made that last comment in the end scene, right? I would have been like, okay, she's taking this. She got humble pie a little bit. She like, okay, this is a hit
Oh
back. But no,
no.
no, she
Mm-mm.
went. This is not. No, I can't let her rock. This is not a woman of the church. I can't. You can't be a
See,
woman of the cloth like
But
this.
she is though,
You
because there
can.
are women
Don't
like
get me
that
wrong.
in
I
the
was gonna say,
church.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. There, you can absolutely,
hmm
but we know that that's not what it's about. Basically, is what I'm saying.
I'll put it like this, and then we'll go on to the next one. Just a thought here for both of you two, because I'm pretty sure both of you two at one point watched or saw a daytime soap opera. Isn't it great on some of those shows where the biggest villain makes a heel turn, but they don't change their personality? You just see it from a different perspective, and you like, oh, wait a minute, I used to hate Erica Kane. Why do I like her all of a
You know
sudden?
what? I
Erica
love me
Kane.
some caricature. I love me some Erica Kane.
So I never watched soap operas, but I know of Erica Kane's
Talk
struggle.
about.
I know of that 19-year jinx
I know.
that she had. Okay, I saw the Emmys, but I never watched a soap opera.
Listen, I'm
Oh, goodness gracious. All right. So, as we're going to go back some here and talk about Haley and Uncle Clifford, as this entire episode is really about them coming to an understanding about their business
Hmm.
relationship.
Mhm.
What do you all think about from the first scene where they had the conversation to that last scene where they talk about the money? And if they did get the money that Haley's requesting, why wouldn't Uncle Clifford sell? And the reason he gave her, but him still understanding, it
Mhm.
definitely is going to bring a lot of money because I understand the percentage of this business that I now own.
Right.
Would you just think
Hmm.
about their whole? There are two conversations in this episode about business.
I love the negotiation
Yeah.
conversation.
Hmm.
That wasn't like it wasn't your typical conventional negotiation, right?
Hmm.
And I think that him placing the blame on Haley, right? He said, "Well, listen, honey, I will take my 50% of the blame because I left your ass here to burn down my chicken, right? But the rest of that shit is yours." So, and then her, thinking about that in her head, and again, like I said in the last review, Haley's smart, but running a business is completely different than how she pictured it.
Uh huh.
So now that she's having the secondary conversation with Uncle Clifford, and he said, now, if you want to be, however much responsible for it, I will gladly, and they reached this understanding of her being the 69%, which I thought was very ironic, but I loved it anyway. And I think it was a necessary conversation, one, right?
Hmm.
Because he understands the power that the pink has. Like when they keep talking about, they tell you it's in between this, the major highways, the car, like the land where pink is more valuable than he understands the value of it. But I think even in this episode, Corbin and Dre are also understanding the value
Hmm.
of it as well. So when they have this conversation, he's now saying, like, that 3.1 mil looks real different, but I still get the fact that Hazel is saying, Hazel, oh my God, Haley
Ooh,
is saying,
you turned her to an old black woman
I,
real quick.
I don't know who I turned into. She was I should have passed the Woodbine Church. I like the fact that they are understanding the wealth that they have, right? And
Mm-hmm.
although, yes, where will these girls go? Haley is saying, "What do you mean? Buy land somewhere else, find a building somewhere else. Like they don't have to be gone." But the pink itself, just
Mm-hmm.
might not be standing. And I think that they're starting to understand that, especially based on the spat that they had,
Yeah.
previously about the whole her almost burning down the damn pink any damn way. So, yeah.
Well, she don't look like she could cook chicken, so that was obvious that she was gonna burn the chicken.
Hey
She
yo,
made Paula Patton's chicken.
oh
No, no,
no.
no. She made the chicken for the passes. That's why it
Oh
was dry.
no, no. Leave
But
my
what
girl
did you
Haley
think?
alone.
What did you think, Jamal, about Uncle Clifford and Haley's discussion, conversation, and understanding business?
It was very much of one hand washes the other.
Mm.
Like, I can't get you clean. I can't get the dirt off you if you can't get the dirt off of me. Like, we dirty together. But if you help me
Mm.
get the dirt off of my back, I can help you get the dirt off of your back. It was very much them coming to an understanding like, this place cannot run without the both of us.
That
Mm.
I
part.
need
Mm.
you because you know the ins and outs, you know everything that's going how to run this business. I just know how to run number games. But I think some of Haley's business tactics as it comes to Andre and Corbin and even Tadell before he passed away, the way that she bid on it at the auction, Uncle
Mm-hmm.
Clifford is actually starting to take some of that and learn from it and like build up to a point where he's like, listen, I know you're waiting on this, but I know even if they come with this number, I can still profit. And
Yeah.
I think it's a situation where she's like, oh, okay, you paid attention in class. I think that the two of them just need to stop getting in each other's way and just work together, and then things can really go. If they are as strong together as they are against each other, they
Mm.
could really be a force to be reckoned with. But I think they just got to get out of each other's way. But I do love the fact that they're. I'm sorry, this dog is running around and it's driving me nuts and it's throwing me off my game. She won't chill out. But I do love how they are trying to come together with on and agree on one thing. Like, we're going to bleed these dudes dry until we get what we
Mm-hmm.
want.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's what it is at the end of the day. Gabby, if you don't sit down.
The
Sorry.
agreement, yeah, the agreement that they're realizing
Sylvie?
again that, you know,
You tried it.
what?
You
I'm done with
tried it on
Amaya
my
completely
mother's
missed
dog.
that. Amaya completely missed that. Oh, but
I,
it was so funny to me. She
yeah,
completely missed that.
I, I was in the zone.
But another important point to bring up, especially pertaining to Haley and Uncle Clifford, is Andre and Corbin's conversation when he says maybe she's waiting for the vote to come down, because if it comes
Mm-hmm.
down in a way at a casino, she becomes the most powerful person in
Hmm.
Chuckalisa, and it reminds us that Haley just didn't pay off Uncle Clifford's debt; she owns the paint. So
Hmm.
now you can't just take it away like they were going to take it away from Uncle Clifford.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
Again, it shows the business acumen that she has, and then him actually know how to run the business.
right. It's
And
different.
as Jamal said, that's why they will always need each other because of that. But speaking of
Facts.
two people always needing each other, I'm just gonna let y'all go because we're gonna talk about the craziness of this 12 city tour
The
between
dozen
Miss
tour.
Mississippi and Lil Murda.
Mm.
I just want y'all thoughts on everything we saw, thoughts on the song, thoughts on the guy who we kind of knew he understands exactly who Little Murder is, and him being jealous of him and wanting to out him, down to the conversation he had with his friend on the stoop as he's talking about what his lyrics did for him when he was in prison. So I'm start with you first, Jamal. What did
I
you fully
knew it was
think
going to
about?
come to the gay first. I knew it was going to be the gay first. I knew it. I'm joking.
Wow.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm
Well, look
joking.
here. Y'all
I
fought for
am
years
our
to be
resident
first,
gay.
okay?
I am our resident gay, so I do not feel bad. I
Hey,
take
y'all
it with
fought for years to
honor.
be first, okay? And I put you first. There
Not
you
I.
go.
Well, let me tell you something. I will always be. I will always be the first and the last because I am the only. Don't forget that.
Okay.
But um, thank you. Anyway, so this whole hodgepodge of a tour that they are on, it's just first of all, it's exactly what I expected as far as the crowds and the attention that he's getting. I did expect for him to be a hit because, as we all know, those underground rappers are at their best when they're. I mean, those our down south rappers are at their best when they're underground.
Yeah.
Those chitlin circuit tours that they be on
Mm-hmm.
is how they get. You know, the word of mouth is very strong.
Mhm.
So, as far as old boy trying to out him, I seen it coming, and
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, dude, you about to. I didn't. The thing about him trying to out him is I didn't know which way the friend would take it. So
Mm.
it's kind of like, so when a fight breaks out, it's like in my mind I'm thinking, is he fighting him because he feel like he playing with his homeboy, or is he fighting him because it's like, how dare you with all of this? You know what I'm saying? Oh, you just a hating ass nigga. But when they had that moment on the stoop,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, well, what y'all about to do? You know, I'm looking, I'm like, what's about to happen here? Cause it's getting real. Like, don't get me wrong, because I have my heterosexual male friends that we can have those deep conversations, but we ain't leaning up against each other like that. Like that just is not going on, my man. Give me 50 feet. But they just real intense, and it's getting real. Like, yeah, you're when you used to write me them whack ass rhymes, like you don't know how much that meant to me. And I'm like, type of secret lovers was y'all? And but it's still but this is just me being an ignorant. I mean, not ignorant, but just me being a jokingly guy who has been in that position before, and it's just like, what you trying? You know, it was a beautiful moment. Let me first say that it was a very beautiful moment because it showed two different spectrums of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Mm.
It
Mm-hmm.
showed the vulnerability between it showed the vulnerability of a friendship of two men that we don't see how men can really. It's a stereotype that black men especially don't speak their feelings amongst their other black men. So to see that and then break it down like that, it was beautiful. But that other moment, it was just like mm, I was like, what y'all about to do? I'm a little nervous. But I did love the fact of Miss Mississippi, that moment she had with Lil Murda.
With Lil Murda. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's like she's the only one who's keeping his secret on this tour, mind you.
Yep.
And she's trying to teach him how to woo Uncle Clifford like he did in the beginning. But I honestly, like I said last season, I don't think he knows how to love or know how to love a person like Uncle Clifford. That's why it's so hard. So it's just it was a lot going on. My head was spinning watching this scene because it was just like it's so much going on. Please stop, but we'll see.
I mean,
I'm intrigued to know what's going to happen between them two.
I think
Oh,
that the so from beginning in the club, that song is Trizash. Okay. Trizash
You
performance
see,
on
I didn't mention it.
song Trizash. Okay, anyway, moving on. I think that it was interesting when that dude did make that comment, you know what I'm saying? And it was,
yeah.
but I'm not gonna lie to you, I felt kind of like Shorty was out of place. Like, you a random joint, and now you just walking up to the back of to the hearse, some murder. Like, it just seems kind of like it didn't fit to me. It didn't fit the mood or the mode of the
She was a
tour.
groupie.
Yeah, but she No,
I
She
mean, you can
came
know
off
who
like
Big
she
Belt.
know him, like he the baby daddy that they
Right.
nobody ever knew of or something.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. She did not come off like your average group. She came off like somebody who knew him and had some beef or had some words. And so that's why it felt weird to me. Um,
Hmm.
the whole thing of him protecting murder, it definitely seemed a little suspect because because of the fact that they are both this is like an opposite gang situation. And but previously at the bar we was like, we don't want no smoke, right? We don't want no drama. Are you trying to start a war? Like, we've already had this kind of conversation. He wasn't out there, of course, so he missed all that, but still. So now here we
Hmm.
are, we have this fight breaking out, and it's like, yo, like, what are you doing? Like, this is not the time and the place. You know what I mean? Like, this is the tour. We're trying to keep things very PC out here, and you kind of fucking that up. So watching that scene was a little weird because he had this look in his eyes of protection, but not the usual kind of protection. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but there's a way that you protect and you like, oh, that's the homie, versus like, yo,
Can
like,
I'm gonna interject quickly, and then I'm going to have you respond to it because you're going down the path that I wanted to ask a question about.
okay.
Could the protection be because he knows that Little Murder is gay, and he doesn't
Absolutely.
want it to get out that
Yes.
he is?
Yes.
But
Absolutely.
he kind of wants to tell him, I understand who you are and I accept you for who you are,
But see,
and you don't need to hide that from me.
I'm not even going, I ain't even going there. I'm
Because and
saying,
also keep in mind, the fight also happened because the guy used to be a part of their gang and
right.
flipped on him.
Hmm.
Right.
So
Exactly.
he already wanted to beat him because you ain't even with the home team no more.
Right.
But I
But
just want to know, did you
no,
think
no,
that
yeah,
that
yeah.
could have been it? The
No, I mean,
perception of
let me rephrase. I do believe that he knows that, excuse me, Lil Murder is gay, right? However, he's not saying that you can come to me because I will love you for who you are. So he's saying, I love you. There was a look in his eyes of like, we used to rock. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm talking about. The protection,
mm,
the look is more like, man, like you not, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a different type of look. So fast forward to, of course, Keyshawn kissing him to get him away from the girls, and and if you pay attention, because let me rewind, if you pay attention to them in the back of the hearse as they speed away, Lil Murda has his arm on Big T.
Hmm.
That's not a that ain't when that's the homie, you like, yo, you good, you good, you good. There was a calmness, a very comforting caress kind of situation of like, yo. So for me, that was a piece that was just like interesting. And then the piece on the stairs, I'm like, okay,
mhm.
something happened between the two of y'all. Whether it was deep or not deep, I don't know. But there is something that happened between the two of you because he remembers you after all this time. Which, of course, I'm not saying that you can't, but he remembers you. He's pulling back memories and things of that nature. It's deeper than just the surface of like, that's my friend or my
Well,
cellmate. For
let me
sure.
interject this. Not cellmate. Wait a minute. They're not cellmate. But let
Okay.
me interject something real quick. Then
They used to be.
Pop bump,
could it
pop
be
up.
that? No. He took a jail beat for him.
Oh no.
Remember?
No, they was in jail
No,
together.
that's
He
not.
went to the
And remember he
hole.
said, yeah, and he said, but that's what I mean by jail beef. He took a jail
Okay.
beef for him.
Oh, okay, okay,
I
And
okay.
he
thought you were
said,
talking
if
about the
you
whole
did,
time.
he said, if you didn't do that, and
Right,
you
right, right. I
did
was.
that, and
Yeah.
that put you in the hole
Hmm.
while you
Hmm.
did that.
Right, right, right.
Even though if they were, you just don't know. I'm just trying to get a little bit more out of it. I'm not 100% sure, and you two are supposed to be clearing my mind about stuff.
So I'm glad you said that because I have a rebuttal for what Amaya said as far as him being protective. When dude got slick out of his mouth, that look of protection couldn't have been, it could be a situation. It could be that he knows he's gay, or it could be that he wants him to be. And how dare you say that out your mouth? Because if anybody's going to confirm this man being gay or not, it's going to be me when we have our moments where I come
Okay.
to him with
No.
my feelings.
That's interesting.
Hey, hold up. Here you go, Jamal. Think about it this way, because it's something that Amaya brought up that I think could ring true here. Could it be they've already had this moment, and how dare you bring up that he's gay because I'm gay, and I'm extremely sensitive about that.
Or is it that it could be a close situation. I have been there. Trust me, it is the scariest. You can be in your listen.
Not
That unsure
the unsure state.
when you about to do. Lou, go ahead. Next,
Okay,
that's a
okay.
conversation for another day.
Clearly, because you just
Ooh.
told me to go to next. And the next thing up is the big
Mm.
moment between Mercedes, Coach, and his wife.
Mm.
As Mercedes finally takes the deal, she gets to the penthouse. She meets the wife first, and
Farrah is rude.
you sleeping with my husband.
But
It ain't rude, but
thank you.
she meets her, and the first thing she's presented with, which I do love, and I want y'all to speak on it. The very first thing they present Mercedes with is a contract and NDAs.
Mm-hmm.
Chinese and this whole situation can go because at that point it benefits Mercedes and it benefits them in keeping the secret. What did you think about that moment? And then everything else that transpired after that, and about how it seemed the women bonded with one another over mutual respect, possibly, for what they both bring to the table. And what did you think of Maya about
I
that?
mean, ugh, okay. So I, no, I mean, I get it. You know, like Mercedes already knew off Bucks that, you know, contracts had to be in place. So it's not surprising.
Mhm.
I think that the way that Fair presented it was just a little bit like here's the thing, like she asked for permission, you agreed to this decision. It's not like you're not understanding what's happening here. So to have that kind of attitude towards Mercedes for me just felt unwarranted. That's why I said that it was just shady and rude. Going forward after that, Mercedes, I just love how one, she kept her composure. And then two, she mentioned after coach tried to downplay, you know, it's so funny. I thought of another show that mentioned photography, but needless to say, when um coach says, well, when you used to be a professional, and Mercedes compliments her on the work, I think that it's very much like bigging up each other to a
Mhm.
well, or at least for on Mercedes' part, she definitely bigs up for her work, you know. And so I thought that that was dope. I really did. This is the one scene where I was like, yo, I'm going to sign up for pole class today, okay? Because I want to be Mercedes when I grow up. I want to be doing all of what she's doing. It was seductive. It was sensual. It wasn't like sexual necessarily, and I think that that was a key component because they didn't fetishize her per se.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? They made it it was abstract. It was art. It was like it came through the screen. So I can only imagine what it was like for her to like record that scene. But needless to say, Fair, you could see Fair get it, like she's dreamy eyed, she's astonished, she's amazed, she is like, this is not like any of the other women that you've, you know, dealt with before. Needless to say, I ain't never meet any of them other hoes, right? And now I'm having the opportunity to really
Mhm.
connect with Mercedes in this manner. So I was not shocked that Farrah ended up naked by the time that Mercedes had walked on over. But um the scene to me was beautiful, like from beginning to end. I think it was dope that two black women were able to kind of have that moment, you know, about the artwork and then seeing artwork because Mercedes is art.
You better wrangle it all back together.
You know, I try.
That was brutal, as Mercedes would say. Brutal. Beautiful, you mean? Like, that's very much what Farragut. Um, you know, I have to agree with you. I feel like there was a moment we see the the deer in headlights almost from Farrah,
Mhm.
Mhm.
where as you stated, Coach, slights her on her photography. Well, when you used to be a professional, and she was like, it looked professional to me, and the fact that she was able to give depth of how she, as she gave her opinion of the piece that
Right.
that she took of Coach, and when even when he stepped away, they had their moment. And she's like, no one's ever broken it down like that. Meaning that was her intention when she shot it, but no one has ever guessed that. Right. And it's just like that in that moment, Farrah was like, okay, she a hood bitch, but she a hood bitch that actually knows some shit. Like, I feel like that's what Farrah was thinking in her head. And then into, as we can see later on, when Coach was like, go ahead, do that little trick you do, you know what I'm saying? And trying to get Farrah away. It's almost like Mercedes is feeding off of the uncomfortableness that Farrah is having, because Farrah has lost her power with her own husband because he has another woman in the room. Right. So she's giving her that power back, like almost to a point where holding her hand to say, I got you and I'm going to help you. And so she was infatuated watching Mercedes dance on the pole and even the lap dance. And it was just like you said, those starry, dreamy eyes, just looking at them like, wow, right, she's amazing. You know, it was just very much of that, to the point where it's like, I know I was supposed to leave, but bitch, I'm in it now. Like, what's up? And I was for it. Like, and can I just say this too, because I don't think I've seen this on any other show that we ever see a man a black man at that, being promiscuous who's married. I love the fact that they had two dark-skinned beauties. You know, both of them are striking in their own right. Yeah. But to see all of that chocolate mixed together, and I don't even like chocolate like that, but baby, it was beautiful.
Wait, not you requesting your Vanilla King.
Wait a minute now. Ain't nobody say that. I love me. Don't you do that. Don't you do that. I like me some dulce de leche, okay? Don't play that. I like me a little butterscotch, okay? A little caramel. You know.
Oh, good.
Flavors, baby. Caramel all the way to the dark chocolate.
Now,
I'm an equal opportunity.
As it pertains to this scene, especially to Mercedes, we're going to get, it leads us into our last point of the episode, which is the confrontation with Shell, Tierica, and every bit of truth about their situation coming out here. So, what did you all think from the conversations between Shell and Mercedes in the bathtub, in the bathroom, where Shell, I think, finally speaks her truth about this entire situation, to Tierica hearing it all, and then Tierica addressing Mercedes about the choices she made afterwards. I'm going to start with the gay first. So, Jamal, what did you...
I just want you to know that it's Tierica and not Tierica, because you're renaming her.
I'm going to call it because Tierica is not a real name. Tierica is.
After he keeps sipping his wine, her name going to be Tierica at the matter.
It's going to be Tony soon.
I was about to say, that bitch about to sound like Typhoon in a minute. You know, it was... I hated it, but I appreciated it at the same time, because at least we got the truth finally. You know what I'm saying? Like, we finally... Because last season, Shell was very much of, this is my child. This is my daughter. I raised her. Yep. And you don't do nothing. You just, you know, it is what it is. You birthed her, but I raised her. This is my child. To the point where it's like, I don't even really want this little girl. I'm only holding on to this promise because I love my husband and that was his child. It's really, and I've heard this from women who had situations similar to that, where it's like, to see a constant reminder of a blur in your marriage is hurtful and it's sickening. And I think it was heartbreaking to both Mercedes and to Tierica, to the point where it's heartbreaking to Mercedes because it's like, you denied me a right that was rightfully mine, but I didn't know all this time that it was him denying me the right, thinking it was you, and I had this animosity against you. But it was so heartbreaking for Tierica to hear it, because now she finds out, number one, how old her mother was when she really had her. Number two, she hears her stepmother really confessing her disgust of having to see her daily. And then it's like, why didn't you fight for me harder? If you love me so much, why didn't you want me? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Why didn't you do for me as you would have? You know, I mean, as you do for the girls in your group, almost in that
Oh,
situation, because you see how hard she fights to have to teach those girls those values, but she
Right.
didn't fight for her own daughter that was hers. So it was heartbreaking to see that, but it was appreciative that it was at least the truth came out. But Shell,
She a hot mess.
she is a hot mess. But I really, in the future, I hope Terica does end up getting some way further as far as her relationship with Mercedes goes.
I think that
mm,
the the scene is definitely so it went differently than I expected it to, if I'm being honest, right? I do like that it's Mercedes hosing her down, waking her up, basically telling
mm,
her, like, how dare you have my child driving your drunk ass around while you pass out in the passenger seat. And then they go into this back and forth, and Mercedes, what what I like is that Mercedes actually at least owns up to her faults in
Mm-hmm.
this whole scene, right? She goes, "Well, it's not my fault. I blossomed. My body looked, you know, bigger or older than I actually was, And Shay says, "Well, you didn't, it's not your body that told him you were 18. It was your mouth that did." And so being able
mm,
to, take responsibility for that is huge, because most of the time we see people getting taken advantage of. And while she still was being taken advantage of, there's still something about having to be responsible for lying about your age in situations like these, right? And then Terica, hearing about it on the backhand side, she has resentment, she has anger, she has pain, she feels essentially kind of abused in a way, right? Because here is a woman who don't really want her, and one who won't come get her. This is like the girl's version of Will in French Prince of Bel Air, where you
well, I
know,
thought you was going a completely different direction.
sir, what was
I didn't know if Tierra was going to get slapped or was she going to slap Shell. I didn't know if they would have a red table talk about it. You said Will, and my mind went everywhere else. Go ahead. Go ahead.
what?
Continue.
All I'm saying is that it was the Will Smith Fresh Prince of Bel Air moment, and
Why you don't want me?
yes, and I mean, and rightfully so, because she made a very valid point. You didn't stay 15. And I think that, in all honest truth, Mercedes has to be honest with herself that she probably didn't feel worthy of getting her daughter back. She wasn't, I'm a stripper, because even though you're doing something, and it's tricky, right? Because we always say that we take jobs sometimes just to pay the bills, and we don't necessarily like them, so we're ashamed of them. But in this situation, Mercedes has made a decision to dance, but she has a goal. She obtained that goal. Then here comes the pandemic, so now she's back in kind of like a bad situation. But was she going to come after Terica after she got the gym and the gym was thriving and successful? Like, we can only just speculate on what's to come. But I think she's now seeing that the pain that she caused Terica might have her shifting who she who we know her as the Mercedes that we know her as. I think she's going to become a different Mercedes. So,
She was
But you,
always going to come for Terica after she got the gym. She said that last season. She was
okay,
like,
mm-hmm.
I'm only doing this so I can get my gym and prove to the judge that I'm able to take care of my daughter, and then I'm going to have my daughter. Because remember,
gotcha.
her house, that room was set up. She was begging.
Exactly.
She was begging Shell to get Terica, and it was given very much no.
Yeah, yeah, I did forget about that. Okay.
And that was one of the main issues of the first season is that she was fighting so hard to get her daughter. But I thought what made this great is say her name for me, Jamal, because you got on me for saying it wrong. Tierica?
Terica.
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 See,
Jesus.
ain't shit.
Terica. Terica. I'm gonna get it right.
Mm-hmm.
So in the first episode, she fought so hard for Terica, but what Terica brings up is that from 15 to whatever age you are now, where were you in between?
Right, which is
And I
about.
think that's what weighed more on her in this scene. So again, I want to close this out by asking fully, what do you think about just the relationships of this episode, because this episode is fully about relationships, whether
Mm-hmm.
it be Patrice's relationship with her church and with the mayor, Uncle Clifford and Haley's relationship, Little Murder's relationship with Clifford, Mercedes' relationship with Coach, Mercedes' relationship with her daughter. What did you just think about the overall arching view of this episode being called Dirty Dozens? And it deals a lot with relationships, because we didn't even get into the point of the relationship between Roulette and Whisper.
And Whisper. That's interesting.
A hit. Talk about a hit.
I mean,
Um,
I didn't want to bring it up because we just got Wanda off of drugs. She was off of drugs in the 80s. She was on crack. She
I've
got
never
off of
seen.
crack.
I've never
Then
seen
she
that
went.
show.
Then she got herself together. She
And
done
now
got a good job at Chuckalisa at the Pink, and now another person will put her on drugs again. And we just got Wanda off of drugs, even though
unbelievable.
crack is whack. Crack is whack. Crack is whack. And
Crack is
I
cheap.
can't show her any receipts, but I just didn't want to see her on crack again. I didn't want to see her on another drug again. But go ahead, as I say, pertaining to this episode and relationships.
It's a power dynamic that shifts all the
Mm.
time, and you really have to. It shows the complexities in relationships
Mm-hmm.
where you could be doing all the right
Mm.
things and still don't come out on top.
Ooh.
You could be sacrificing everything, but your everything isn't good enough. And
Mm.
it's just, it shows, I think this showed a lot of heart versus mind. Because your mind always wants you to think smart and move smart, but your heart pulls you into doing some dumb shit.
Mm.
And I think that as the show goes on, you'll see the development of the relationships. I think some of the relationships that we've seen be so strong start to deteriorate. I see relationships building that we never saw coming. Um, I just I don't know. This episode kind of hit me a little bit differently because
Mm.
it was so for it to not show a lot of emotions. It was so emotional because you
Mm.
see the pull, you see the impact that every action is taken by every character, whether it be a small impact or a big impact. Because now you see everything that's going on as far as how thing one person says, the thing one person does, the one play somebody else has, the one inspiration that somebody else puts in the other person's head, it all starts to turn the wheels. So
Right.
that's why I say the relationships, you see the shift. So it's going up and down the whole time.
I
What
think
about you,
that
Amaya?
for me, in this episode, it was that relationships deserve clarity, and that you cannot when there's any sort of uncertainty, there's anything that's not said, that it will linger, and that there was a lot of clarity, a lot of honesty in these conversations that were had throughout the entire episode, whether it was in an angry way, a painful way, or a joyous way. It still was clarification, just
Mm.
really clearing things up, right? So, Autumn and Uncle Clifford clearing up. Okay, so if you don't want this amount of responsibility, you got to give me something, right? That's clarity. Uncle Clifford, and Mercedes, or Lil Murder talking to Big Teak, clarity, like, oh, you used to do this for me back in the day, da da da. Like, you want to start a war? No, I'm just looking out for you. Oh, okay, things haven't changed. Clarity. So it's just about having conversations that need to be had. And what I loved about this episode was that a lot of these conversations were heavy, but they didn't feel heavy. They didn't
Mm.
feel intense. They felt like just conversations that needed to be had. And I think that's the biggest thing, that a lot of times when we talk about having conversations that are heavy, we don't know how to have them without them feeling like we just got punched in the gut. And so this
Mm.
particular way that they did it, it was a dynamic of showing you that you can have those conversations, and they could be just as easy as any other conversation you have.
There you go. Beautiful way to close out our episode 3 review of P Valley. Now, you can catch us every day of the week, recording multiple shows. We got Amaya. She got our P Valley interviews out there. Please check those out. I'm sure you're going to enjoy them as much as I did. We have countless shows you can check out, and we will be dropping this review of P Valley right after the episode airs. And we're going to leave you with a beautiful quote to celebrate what we got to see Uncle Clifford do in this episode. And this quote is from the great poet Rasputia Lattimore. You want to see a bitch go down a slide? I'ma show you a bitch go down the slide.
I
As
cannot.
Uncle Clifford decided to show you a bitch on the pole.
I cannot.
Peace, people.
Bye, y'all.